Another day, another story about those who advocate for censorship being censored themselves. Because if there's any one group of people that can't learn a lesson from history, it's the far left, regressive, authoritarian types, pro-censorship. I'm not going to bury the lead for you guys, okay? Here's the story. Twitter locked me out of my account for reporting on extremists. He goes into great detail about why he, a writer for the Southern Poverty Law Center, famous, actual hate organization, and I wouldn't say that normally, but it was recently discovered that the founder and the president had, they're out, the founder was fired. I digress, we'll get into that stuff. I don't want to bury the lead. This is an article about a man saying he was locked out of his account. And then we go to the bottom, and what does he say? Twitter and other tech companies need to change the terms as well as enact and enforce comprehensive policies to protect the voices of underrepresented communities and combat the spread of hateful ideologies. What do you think they were doing when they banned you? I don't think these people seem to get it. Quite literally, he's saying, why was I banned by Twitter? And at the bottom saying, well, Twitter should ban more people. Yeah, you're the first to go, dude. Wow. Truly an impressive story. Let's read through it. And I pulled up their SPLC announces policy recommendations for change the terms. And we'll get into that too, because boy, these people sure love censoring themselves. Well, Twitter locked him out, but why? He says, Twitter temporarily suspended my account this week after I posted a tweet that opposed far-right extremism. The incident, which has been resolved with an apology from Twitter, and the unlocking of my account underscores the struggles Twitter has had with keeping white supremacists from weaponizing their platform to further an agenda of cruelty. To be more specific about what happened to me, the social media giant locked me out and also threatened me with a permanent suspension for posting a tweet that demonstrates a connection between an American white supremacist leader, the terrorist who gunned down 50 worshippers, including children, at 2 New Zealand mosques, and a mysterious fire that recently ravaged a Tennessee-based building linked to the civil rights movement. Now, look, hold on, full stop. All of that is horrifying. I don't think anyone would there's very few people on this planet that would appreciate any of these kinds of stories. No, these are terrifying stories. We don't want these stories to constantly be occurring in real life. The last thing I'm pretty sure any of us want is a nightmare dystopia. But of course, there's still the chaos vote. People who just want to see the world burn, they exist. But most of us want to avoid the dystopia. I'll tell you this right now, Mr. Hayden. Not only is it a nightmare dystopia because these things are actually happening, but what you are advocating for will not end the violence, and it will only make the future more dystopian. People are committing acts of violence because they're insane. Okay, you have to be insane to do these things. What ends up happening then is these people call for censorship, and then they lock down more accounts, including people like you. So I'll tell you what, maybe at some point you can finally understand. Well, here's his tweet, right? Here's the tweet. You'll understand why they suspended you. Now, they apologized, but computers don't understand context, and there's no human at these companies. The first thing that will happen, I kid you not, and he points this out, is that when you ban hate speech, you will only ban those who are challenging hate speech. How is that hard to understand? And I can clarify for you. He goes on to talk about, well, first let's look at this. He says, now that it's confirmed, Symbol left at the scene of the Tennessee Highlander Center fire is linked to Iron Guard of Romania. It's been popularized by Heimbach of TWP and was also embraced by the domestic terrorists in Christchurch, New Zealand. Not good. Okay, now, he goes on to talk specifically about, where do we go? Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux. Of course, he plays the far left, they're white supremacists. Yeah, I don't know. I got to admit, I don't know a whole lot about Stefan Molyneux other than he's posted some really interesting tweets, which I think probably, I don't follow the guy, so the left is going to start attacking me saying that I'm downplaying it. No, I just don't follow Stefan Molyneux, nor do I watch his videos. Now, Lauren Southern has actually joined an identitarian protest in the Mediterranean. I wouldn't call that white supremacist. I would call that identitarian, which there's definitely an overlap. But the point is, this guy views Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux as two internet-based racist pundits who espouse white supremacist talking points about white genocide. And they're not only on Twitter, but they're also verified by the site. Can I explain to you why? Because Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux don't post symbolism and overt calls for white nationalism or any of these other things. So they don't get banned. Now, when it comes to Lauren, I don't track what she's tweeting and all that stuff. But for the most part, I think she's been tweeting about, like, she posts selfies sometimes, but she's doing a documentary on borders and nationalism. Okay? What are you going to do? That's not against the rules. Stefan Molyneux has had some viral tweets, which, again, I don't really follow them, but they've been highlighted as, like, race realist, which is not necessarily racial supremacist, because they you know, the far left would like to claim that race realists are white supremacists, and there's an overlap for sure, but the race realist people tend to think like Koreans are smarter than them. So I don't know how you describe it if you want to be intellectually honest. But here's all that matters. When these people post on Twitter, they don't break the rules. Even if Stefan Molyneux is posting things that are racist, he's not posting overt symbols from white nationalist organizations or anything like that, right? Here's what happens. Twitter looks at Lauren's account and they say, she's talking about borders. We ignore it. They look at Stefan Molyneux's account and say, whoa, these are pretty racy, but he's just raising, you know, he's poking the bear. He's not posting overt white nationalism. Then they look at you, Mr. Hayden, and you literally posted photos of white supremacist symbols. So what do you think Twitter's going to do? Two people who aren't posting white supremacist symbols and one guy who is. Guess who gets banned? You, not them. These people are just so insane, and it goes to everything, right? So we're working on Subverse, okay? This is fantastic. I met with an accountant, and I asked him about. We were just talking. We kind of finished up the basic business stuff, and he was asking me about like my business, and I explained to him, you know, it's kind of like centrist, center left commentary, very like pointed at the far left, and sometimes the more extremist elements of the right. But the extremist elements of the right don't have stories in the news every single day. So when they come up, I absolutely. I did a video about the Marines guy who was posting Nazi stuff, the National Guard guy. Like, yeah, I do. I talk about extremists. But anyway, he said that he was really concerned about the minimum wage stuff because New Jersey, because I live in Jersey, he said that they're raising the minimum wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour in a year and a half. Guess what happened? First, he asked me how I felt about the minimum wage, and I said, partially for it. But the issue with left and right is that it's not so much about whether you support a minimum wage or a gun ban or whatever. It's about recognizing what solution will work for what area at what time. A nationwide gun law doesn't make sense for people in Idaho, right? If you live in New York and you're like, we should ban guns, it's like, okay, that's great for you, New York, maybe, but not for Idaho. So a federal level thing doesn't make sense. So we need to think about state level and stuff like that. But again, I understand Second Amendment. I'm just making a point about blanket laws don't work. And I said, so a minimum wage can work really, really well in certain jurisdictions where there actually is a massive, massive disparity between the people running the companies and the workers. And I'll give you a good example of it's really bad in Ukraine. The oligarchs make, millions of dollars US, and the Ukrainians are making a couple $100 US per month. I'm not saying necessarily a minimum wage would work in their circumstance because it's still an urban setting. I don't know what the situation is. The point is, the idea of a minimum wage isn't inherently bad. We just have to make sure that technology is not outpacing the economy. So right now, if you enact the minimum wage, you'll just get automated. Even Andrew Yang thinks so. He's running as a Democrat. The point is, in some circumstances, it can make sense, but we have to look at how the cities will be impacted. Well, here's what he said to me as an accountant. He said, all of my businesses that I work with, hundreds, some of them have 20 employees, some of them have 100 employees, and now they're going to experience a near 100% labor cost increase. 100%. So I don't know how I got into minimum wage stuff, but he said they're going to experience a 100% labor cost increase in a year and a half, and that's disrupting everything. But for however I got off on a tangent, let's get back to the censorship story because I just realized I'm like, how this usually happens. But I want to wrap up this final thought, and I want to talk about change the terms, so I don't want to go off on a tangent. But suffice it to say, this person thinks that they should change the terms. He links to the Southern Poverty Law Center's plan to change the terms. That's what they call it. There's also a group called the Free Press, which is involved in this. How lovely. an organization that claims to be fighting for a free and open internet is actively involved in censoring the internet. Well, I guess I'll just end with, I'll end by saying this to get off of on the tangent. To clarify one more time, these were the tweets. Michael Hayden said, the Highland Center in Tennessee, which once hosted MLK Jr. and Rosa Parks, says someone spray painted a white supremacist symbol at the scene where fire ravaged their building. Happened around the same time a UNC memorial was defaced with urine and a marker. And this is the tweet that got him in trouble. Now that it's confirmed, symbol left at the scene of the Tennessee Highlander fire is linked to Iron Guard of Romania, popularized by Christchurch, etc. So we can see this dude. I don't know who that guy is. But he's got the symbol on his chest. We can see the symbol on the gun. We can see the symbol on the ground. First, the dude wearing this, I don't know who he is. The guy with the gun definitely had the symbol. This could be, we don't know what this is. Just because someone spray paints something doesn't mean it proves motive. It doesn't confirm anything. This is not journalism. This is activism. Of course, this guy's an activist. Now, this is what we would call circumstantial, well, we would call this evidence. Evidence to suggest this may be the motive. Now, from there, we go and investigate. But it is definitely not, I can say the symbol on the left is you can say it's confirmed to be a symbol related to that, but we don't know who wrote it or why. Plain and simple. The other issue is this guy, who is an investigative reporter for the SPLC, this tweet is possibly the best example of why we absolutely should not change the terms. You want to show people who the white supremacists are? You want to show people where the symbols come from? You will be banned for posting hate speech and hate symbols. What do you not get about that? How hard is it to understand that you can point the finger at all the racists in the world, but Richard Spencer is still on Twitter? He's not going on Twitter and posting these photos, so they're not going to ban him. But I'll tell you what, when you come from an activist perspective and say, guys, look, they will ban you, and they did. And the only reason today that you were able to get your account unsuspended is because of the scrutiny brought upon Twitter by those demanding they stop. I'll tell you what, in 5 years, if Twitter, assuming Twitter's still around, if we lose this fight, the people fighting for free speech, Michael Hayden, you will be one of the first to go. We're already seeing it. As you explained yourself, Lauren Southern's fine. Stephen Molyneux's fine. They suspended your account. Isn't that weird? So what do you think is going to happen when there's no one left to speak up and defend you? The people who are dog whistling, whatever you want to call it, are going to be on the platform doing their thing, and you will be banned for calling them out. Welcome to the fascist state you are creating. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll have another video for you up at 1 p.m. We're doing work in this room, and it's one of the freakiest things because the whole thing is soundproof. And it's, I kid you, I don't know if you've ever been in a soundproofed room, but it feels really, really weird that nothing is echoing off these walls. So there's nothing behind me, though, but all around me, it's all soundproofed. But anyway, stick around. I'll see you guys at 1 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. Adios.